Are we streaming? Hopefully this is working. Welcome to another Gamers Podcast here on the Galley Walking Gaming channel. We're going to have a discussion today about keyboard and mice versus controllers. So join me and CJ and our special guest Brandon Waters as we talk about this major controversy that's coming to Xbox also. So stick around and we'll be right back. And we are back. Welcome.
Woohoo!
Hello, CJ. Hello, Brandon. How are you guys doing?
Finally, we're finally here.
Fantastic. Todd, how are you?
Not bad, not bad. So, Brandon, it's been you've been on the show before, but it's been a while. So, what have you been up to?
You know, lots of sim racing. Kind of my forte. It's what I love doing. So that's what I've been doing. Some distractions here and there.
Yeah.
Some Battlefield, lots of Red Dead Redemption 2 also.
Yeah, and Brandon also got me hooked into VR racing. So I swung by his house not too long ago, and
Brandon's still trying to recover from that.
Gave VR a try, and he got me hooked on it. And, I wheeled and dealed with another YouTuber by the name of Dan DiMaggio. How you doing, Dan? And we made a little trade, and I got his VR headset that he made a video about not liking anymore. So
There you go. There you go.
So if you want to give him even more controversy over his VR video, go over there and give him a hard time now about giving it to somebody else.
So he didn't like it. How about you, Todd?
To be honest with you, I'm really enjoying it. It's added a whole nother aspect to sim racing, and I'm actually looking forward to doing some other games. I'm actually surprisingly
Midget porn.
doing some Beat Saber. I've seen that game, and it's like, wow, that's
Beat
that's
Saber.
actually...
That sounds wrong. Especially at the weekend. Oh, just me, a Karate Corona and some Beat Saber.
Is that slang for something else over there? See,
no, over here it sounds like slang for something over there. It just doesn't sound right. You know what I mean?
It does look like a fun game, though.
Yes, it does. And CJ doesn't know what it is. Do you
It's
remember?
probably lightsabers on VR. Yes, it's like Guitar Hero, but with lightsabers.
It's kind of a combination of Guitar Hero and Fruit Ninja.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it.
So, but it's with like
It's really popular among homosexuals. I've nothing against homos, by the way.
I'm going to take your word for it. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's tough.
But anyway, that's not what we're here to discuss. We're here to discuss gaming peripherals. The ever popular.
you can't say that again.
The main thing on PC is keyboard and mouse, and of course, while controllers are used on PCs at some point, they are mainly a console peripheral. But now that that's changing, it's of course keyboard and mouse have been on Xbox and PS4 for quite a while now. But Xbox is doubling down and now putting keyboard and mouse support as long as the developers want to do it. Now, Microsoft has left it completely up to the developer on whether they add the support into their games on Xbox. But they're bringing real keyboard and mouse support, and I've seen some of it when it comes to a game like Warframe, and it actually plays really well, just like it does on PC. Now, I know you guys are controller guys, right?
I would say yes. I mean, I've not spent a long time in PC, but I find the whole PC cramped over a keyboard, completely unnatural. And a big, I like my first-person shooter. So when you're holding a controller, it's a trigger, isn't it? You're not clicking a mouse button. And a controller, everything's there. You don't have to mess around hunting for keys and what have you. For me, it's more natural.
Yeah, but what you're describing are two different things. The keyboard is used for moving the character. The mouse is what's used for shooting the weapon, which is, to me, is more natural. Aiming with my hand like I really would with an actual weapon and firing.
This is where I disagree.
Unlike using your thumb to guide where you're going to aim.
But you can say that about any game and movement and stuff. See, my big, actually, you know what? Yeah, my big thing is, right, when you see people play first-person shooters with mouse and keyboards, right, the speed they move is just stupid. It's ridiculous, okay? Because you don't move that fast. You don't spin that fast. You can't aim that fast. Physically, it doesn't happen. So this is why I like the controller side of it, because the speed in which you move and operate is more a natural, realistic speed.
Really?
No, yes, you can say you can put settings.
Turn up their sensitivities.
Well, yes, I'm saying yes, you can turn up your sensitivity, but then they're just as bad as the ones on the mouse. You can play a first-person shooter.
That's the same thing. I can control both of those with either a mouse and keyboard or a controller. That has nothing to do with which peripheral you use. That has to do with what your settings are. So that kind of invalidates your point or your argument.
Well, it doesn't.
It does because that's all done by settings.
Me coming from a forces background, if I'm going to want to pull a trigger, I want to pull a trigger. I don't want to click a mouse. Okay, Brandon, what do you think?
I think that's a valid point to an extent. I think it's funny the way, you know, the mouse keyboard argument versus the gamepad argument. It kind of relates back to just adapting to the interface. I think the real issue at hand is if you let the two interfaces overlap, because then you start getting into an issue of, okay, who's got an actual advantage? And in my opinion, that's the mouse and keyboard guys, because, you know, they have all the strafe options, you know, where it's just side to side, where with the controllers and using the thumbsticks, I believe personally that puts you at a disadvantage. And I believe most people that use a mouse and keyboard believe the same thing. It's kind of I don't know, I would say it's a common belief that using a gamepad puts you at a disadvantage.
I think there's a bit of a delay when using a controller or a gamepad, as in between, you know, if you're going forward to then strafing, you've got that sort of that minute amount of time between changing direction, whereas obviously on a keyboard, you hit the button and it's there, so it is a lot quicker.
Yeah, well, a gamepad allows for that error, right? And your thumb movement, it's a fine motor skill, where if you want to transition in movement from forward on a keyboard, which is typically like a W, to a left strafe, it's, you know, an A button. So it's a simple finger press that's just a trigger muscle memory thing. Where with a gamepad, you know, you're obviously pushing forward on a thumbstick, and then you've got to swing it full to the one direction or the other. So it's a disadvantage. I think that for me is the biggest point of contention that I have with this, is that, you know, is there going to be overlap? Is it left to developers to decide? Is that, you know, Microsoft going to say, yeah, you know, boys have at it, and then are people that aren't on mouse and keyboard just going to totally get the floor wiped?
Well, I know there's
Microsoft has made a request that the developers separate the two divisions.
Well, see, I know there's like there are some games where there are some people who, for example, some of the Battlefield games, they'll use the keyboard, and as soon as they jump in a vehicle, they'll switch to a controller. I'm thinking, that doesn't make sense. I don't get that. You're either one or the other. I think using both, you just, you know, we don't have 4 or 6 hands. We've got, you know, we've got 2 hands. That's it. And just usually But for me, it's comfort's a big thing for me. If I'm not comfortable in my seating position or whatever, I don't enjoy the game. Like, I'll play really badly. And I've given the keyboard a go on several FPS games that I've downloaded now, and I just find it really uncomfortable. I've even gotten the wrist sport things. I've tried that as well. Really uncomfortable with just the position of the hands.
Well, they make keyboards to do this for that. They make certain.
Yeah, I know. Do miss. I've got support now. You know, you can remap it. I just find it. I don't know.
I mean, you can buy an ergonomic keyboard to where your hand is sitting in a natural position.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I suppose
keyboards and so forth. But when you're talking about switching controllers, I used to do that with Battlefield 2 back in the day. I had my keyboard and my mouse, of course, sitting here, and then when I jump into a chopper or a plane, I had a flight stick sitting right here, and then when I jump into that, I just grab the flight stick and I start flying with that.
I mean, Brandon hit on it. It's you're talking about muscle memory. I suppose once you get used to something, it's just muscle memory. It doesn't become, unnatural position because your body gets used to it.
You condition yourself to it. Where you're positioned like that. With me, it's because I have a background. When I started doing more gaming, like when I went into the Division, because now I started playing the Division again on PC, I had a few cramps in my wrist and in my fingers at first, but after a while that started going away because my hand got used to doing it again. But again, with the mouse, I'm much more natural because like I said, if I'm holding a firearm, I'm aiming with my hand, which is just more natural when I'm using a mouse because I'm actually aiming like I would with a real weapon. And when I fire, especially an automatic weapon, it's easier to control the recoil. Yeah.
Never said a word, mate. Never said a word.
You just wanted that to pop up on the stream, didn't you?
I was just wondering how long it'd take you to mention it, mate. Every broadcast we do. You mention the game.
Have you even noticed that, CJ?
Noticed what?
That the chat is now on the stream?
Yes, I noticed that. Okay. Because I noticed the little privacy things up there on the middle of the post.
I hate that. I hate that you can't get rid of that damn thing out of the chat box.
Click learn more. I don't want to learn.
It doesn't do it. But anyway, so I mean, there's a lot of controversy right now about Microsoft, and which I don't get because PS4 has allowed it for a while. Probably not to the same extent, but Microsoft has said that they want the developers to separate the communities. In other words, they don't want controller players playing with keyboard and mouse, but unless that's what they want to do, and they want them to have the option.
I don't think it's needed. I seriously don't think that we need keyboard and mouse support for games on console.
You do, because you have to allow a gamer their choice. It should not be up to the company how you play your game. It should not. Plain and simple. It should be up to the gamer how they play their game.
So the way I see it is, if you want to game on a mouse or keyboards, then buy a PC.
No, because you should be able to game however you want on whatever platform you want. That should not be determined by somebody else. Am I wrong, Brandon?
I think the biggest argument for this policy is the fact that if it puts players at a legitimate disadvantage.
Yeah.
If somebody with a gamepad is at a disadvantage because the way the input interfaces with the game doesn't work the same, I think it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, then by all means put them together. You know what I mean? If the playing field is level, but then you have to worry, okay, if it does end up coming to an issue of the device is different, say, gamepad and steering wheels, or, gamepad and keyboard, then you have to worry about balance.
I think when it comes to, if you're using a gamepad, right, if you're going to have both of them on one title, right, the accuracy and the fidelity of both inputs have to be bang on. And some would say, well, on a mouse you're faster. I've done some PC gaming try using the gamepad, and the guys in first, the speed they're turning around is ridiculous, and they're on a mouse. Now you cross that over into a console where even on a high setting, if you put your controller on a high setting, when you spin around, you can't stop and be as accurate, I suppose, as you could be with a mouse. So I think there is going to be a disadvantage, and that when you talk about the balance, I think that you've hit the nail bang on the head. I don't think the balance is there. This is why I don't think keyboard and mouse. If a title is going to come on a console, supports keyboard and mouse, fine, it's keyboard and mouse, but it doesn't support the controller because there isn't that balance. Unless they can guarantee your controller is as accurate and as fast as a mouse, then fine. If you can't guarantee that, then you can't sell that title to run on both input devices to the consumer, because one consumer who has paid the exact same amount of money is not going to get the experience that the other consumer has.
Okay.
See, that's perfect.
Let me say this again. Microsoft has said that developers have to separate the communities. They are not going to be playing together unless the player chooses to. You understand that?
Yes, but this is Microsoft.
They are not at a disadvantage unless they choose that.
Yes.
It's, again, the player's choice.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about what CJ just said. One, the fact that he agreed with me. It's a great thing. But two, that is the argument for the separation, right? Because having it, that starts to boil down into like the weapons balance. Battlefield always runs into the issue of, they nerfed this one, they buffed this one, and now it's this constant state of flux to where everything just turns into the same flavor of crap. It's just like, well, there's nothing that stands out, So that's what they need. That's how they're addressing it here, is they're just going to separate, which, if you think about it, is genius on their part, right? Because if they stand back and they go, all right, we now have keyboard and mouse support for you PC players. And are you sick of updates? And are you sick of, driver updates and all the BS that comes along with PC gaming? Well, guess what? We've got the solution for you. It's $500. It'll push at 4K. Yeah. It runs at 60 FPS, which is probably the only point of contention that, PC guys will have.
Yeah.
And here you go. Here's your one-stop shop. You can come to us. We've got a player base. We've got the service built in. Multiplayer matchmaking's already there. Come to us, and they'll try and pull those customers away from PC.
Yeah, like you talked about,
they want the simplicity, because there are players on PC who they like playing on PC because they get the like you said, the 60 frames per second or more. They get the mouse and keyboard play, which they prefer, but they also, if they had a console unit, this wouldn't be everybody, but if you had a console unit that had the simplicity like the consoles have, when it comes to you buy the game and the game plays, you don't have to worry about all the bullshit with a PC, because there is bullshit with a PC. For those people who tell you there's not, they're lying.
They never told me before I bought it.
There will be people, I believe, that will migrate more to playing on console. There's going to be those that are still diehard PC Master Race bullshit.
Right. I mean, look at the FPS. This is one thing I think where to the console and the PC is that everyone wants frames per second on the PC, and we do, right? But what I found is some of the games I looked at, some of the demos and that, right, is yes, you get a massive, huge frames per second compared to the console, but sometimes you look at it and you go, it's too detailed. I can see every single edge. No, because some games you can see every single edge, and you think sometimes I like that console where it's kind of blended, so you can't tell that it's a game, if you like. Sometimes, on some replays you go, that actually is kind of real. But if it's too detailed, you can see, it's not. I know it's kind of thing. That's kind of going off track, but I think with
starting to sound like Steam.
No, I think with
consoles.
No, I think with you're saying that what Microsoft have said they're going to split it. Yes, they've said this. Microsoft have said various things. They've also they've gone back on, and you can't really count on Microsoft for being up to date and honest and, let's say, on time and true and proper with some of the shit they come out with. But I think they'll say this. However, when the games are developed, developers going to go, right, let's push it out on keyboard, mouse, and controller, and give them the option, like you said earlier, give them the option.
It's not Microsoft's choice, though.
Exactly. It's the developer's choice. Yeah. Microsoft can't, but I mean, Microsoft could say, well, actually, we don't want we don't want that on our platform because it covers both inputs.
But in the same course, Microsoft have also said that they do have games that are mouse and keyboard support only coming to Xbox also. So that's another reason why.
This will be coming to the Xbox One X, so they can actually get some sales of it.
I thought the Xbox One X sold well.
So, see, everyone I know that actually has one, right? I hear more negative than positive. The best one was actually from Brandon. The best one was from Brandon that is just sat on a shelf gathering dust. he doesn't touch it. I've heard people say, they've got it. They spend the money on it.
Brandon that's on here with us?
Yes.
No, he uses his.
No.
Now, to be accurate, I don't use it nearly as much as my wife does. Oh yeah, and she plays Red Dead.
Right.
All the time. Well, not all the time, but a lot.
Yeah.
I will say the One X is far superior because when we play together, Red Dead 2 online, I play on my old Forza Edition, which is the original style Xbox. And the One X is far superior.
Yes.
For that.
Oh yeah, from the original Xbox One, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great system.
Yeah, I've had people that have got it and they've said, you know what, it's good, but it's not amazing. Some people have got it and they feel kind of not done over, but thinking, there was massive promises and games were supposed to look absolutely amazing, and they get the enhanced version of the game, and they go, it doesn't actually look that much different to playing on an Xbox One S, for example. I don't know. There's also been mixed reviews.
Do you have a 4K TV, and do you have your 4K TV set up properly? That's what I would ask.
I would say.
Well, these people that buy an X, but they don't have a 4K telly. They've got some big thing that's got a massive cord to the back of it. SCART cable in the back.
I would say I've got the two. I mean, I don't want to get this too far off the tracks here, but I've got my One X on a 4K TV next to my regular Xbox. It is also on a 4K TV, and it is dramatic, the difference. So it's not the lack of having a proper display there. You could probably boil this down into cultural norms nowadays that, I don't know, for lack of a better term, people seem to complain if they're hung with a new rope. It's like, man, be grateful for what you have. I look at this thing,
I love that.
and it's like, it's beautiful. It plays well. It's smooth. The One X, especially I'll use Red Dead as an example. When we go into towns, it's smooth. It doesn't matter how many people are there, what graphically is going on. On mine, my original Xbox One, I get stutters, frame rate drops. It's like, okay, you can definitely tell that particular title pushes that console beyond its limits. The One X doesn't even phase it.
Which is why I think keyboard and support isn't going to be, if you don't have a One X or even at least a One S. I don't think the keyboard and support will be all that good on a regular Xbox One, to be honest with you, because like you said, Brent, the games actually, you can see that there's an actual difference in the power of the game. As to where the S has a little bit more power, but the X has more power than both of them. So,
yeah. So and it boils back.
Do you think the One X would benefit from mouse and keyboard support?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what's going to happen is you've got, so obviously there's numbers that they've put out, and I don't know them off the top of my head, but the consensus is, I know, right, that the PC market is dwindling compared to console market, which is growing, and the numbers are there. Obviously, if you look at title sales and stuff, anything that's designed PC based sells more copies, period.
Yeah.
And if you look at it and go, okay, all these console guys that are there now, if you have this influx of PC people with mouse and keyboard, and it's an easier controller scheme, and they have an advantage for gameplay, all these existing console guys are going to go, okay, I've got to move to this. And if they want that and they get to that point, they're going to go, okay, well, now I've got mouse and keyboard, but to get the most out of it and to be on a level playing ground with these guys that are coming in or that have switched over to this, I need to get the newest, hottest console that's going to push the hardware like I need it to be competitive.
Yeah. See, I've got a strange kind of outlook I've got on it. I think it's because obviously I'm new to the PC, so I still do a lot of console stuff.
Same.
But I just can't see myself using the
the mouse and keyboard. Me either.
Yeah, and a console. A console has always been a controller of sorts, and it's it's a very comforting thing to put a controller in your hands.
What if it gave you a tactical advantage, Todd? Would you use it then?
It would depend on the game. I mean, if I was going to play a Battlefield, or you really need to keep still there, buddy.
So
your microphone's picking up everything.
No, because I've got the microphone sat there because there's a problem with the boom thing. Forget it, doesn't matter.
It's the beer.
If it's a game like Battlefield or something like that, then maybe. But again, if I'm going to play those type of games now, because I do more of the PC stuff, I would play those on PC. I wouldn't buy that for my console. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So, I mean, and then there's games that are traditional mouse and keyboard, but play better with a controller. And I'll give you a perfect example: Diablo 3. One of my favorite games. Of course, it was on PC first, and of course, it was mouse and keyboard, blah, 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 blah. It went to the console, and then it was developed with a controller. The game plays 10 times better with a controller on console than it does with mouse and keyboard on a PC.
Well, see, here's the thing about controllers on PC, what I'm finding, unless you were to pay for the Steam controller, which I've considered, but I'm not going to bother. Yeah, I know that little pad thing is so many different settings.
Yeah,
it's way too complicated.
It's like a trackpad.
yeah. Not a track land a bloody shuttle. I just want to play Battlefield anyway. So I was going to say, yeah, I was quite surprised. It's all the PC games, right? They don't have the Xbox One controller on their settings. It's the 360 controller they have. Now this is quite interesting because the 360 controller, right, is used widely for various things, right? Even like, let's say, guidance stuff in the forces, they use a 360 controller for. You know what I mean? So the controller has its place. It seriously has its place.
Yeah, but now that the Xbox One controller is the default one now on PC.
Well, even if it's a PlayStation controller, it's just a gamepad in general.
Yeah, but the PlayStation controller isn't programmed as well. There's too much bullshit with that controller as to where the Xbox One controller is actually, all of its stuff is actually in the Windows program. So that's why it's...
Well, yeah. But if it's on Windows 10, yeah. I mean, for me, it's about accessibility, it's about comfort, and it's about just not having to think about, what am I doing? And sitting like this, playing a game doesn't do it for me. It doesn't. I'm happy just doing this. That's the way it is.
Yeah, and like I said, most times I am. But when it comes to me, they both serve a purpose. And to me, the peripheral you use, whether it be mouse, keyboard, or controller, should be determined by the game, and should be determined by the player what they prefer to use. Which is why I'm happy to see Xbox doing what they're doing. They're bringing it in there. I know people are bitching about it, but it's still a good thing because now it's the player's choice. Even with PC, yes, the main source of input used on PC when it comes to games like Call of Duty or Battlefield is mouse and keyboard. But there are players who play those on PC with controllers or gamepads, whatever you want to call
But there
it.
was somebody racing on Race Room yesterday with a keyboard. I'm not joking.
You
And
can
I was
use
like,
a mouse to race on iRacing.
I was like, what are you doing? It was like a tap, 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 going in the corner. I'm thinking, mate, appropriate input for appropriate.
Play those games but can't afford a wheel. So
yes, this kind of backs up your thing. You know, appropriate input for an appropriate game.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
well, and with that argument, we need
play the iRacing and other sim racing titles. They play those with a keypad on PC.
Yep.
They play what?
A racing title. They'll play something like Assetto Corsa or Project Cars on PC. They'll still use the gamepad.
Okay. Because you can use a mouse to race. I don't get that. I don't.
To me,
that makes no sense.
Well, it's all in what you adapt to, right? Like,
yeah.
Since we're talking about racing titles, we're used to using wheels and pedals and having our own setup, right? Well, if you think about it, look at somebody who has a physical handicap or disability that uses like hand controls and stuff, and it's like it's all what you can get your brain adjusted to, and adapting.
Well, this is where this is why, and Gally had a go at me a while back about this, right? This is why in a previous podcast I brought up that big massive gamepad and stuff that Microsoft brought out.
Yeah.
Geared towards that. Now Gally didn't want to talk about it.
But I had a go at you.
Because you didn't want to talk about it.
I did talk about it. And
I have a theory. It could be the fact that it's going to release in 2019, and we know how that goes.
Don't talk about 2019.
But no, they have some wonderful things for the handicap when it comes to peripherals for racing. I mean, they've now got the ones where your pedals will now be put onto your steering wheel for people who are.
Do you not think?
In what?
I'm just thinking. But you don't think you would fall off the wheel?
No, it's attached to the wheel. Kind of like one of those steering knobs.
Well, you get those. Somebody's there's a guy done the 3D printer of, and it's like you got the analog sticks. I'd move it up and down. It's like you just click it onto it, and it's like a mini wheel for your controller. Some guy 3D printed it.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah,
well, that's
covered
quite cool.
it. Sean's covered it on the Sim Pit. We've talked about that before.
All right, okay. Well, I've talked.
It's kind of like I don't know if you remember that prototype extension or not extension, but that analog stick that they had showed for the Elite controller. It was actually a U shape to where you could fit your thumb into it and actually just use your thumb side to side.
Oh, okay. Yep. No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was a prototype analog stick for the Elite controller because you can change your sticks and your buttons and all that stuff on that controller, but they never actually released it, and I don't know why. But the peripherals for the steering wheel, as far as you got the gas and brake up here for them to use their hands when they're driving. And
maybe it was too advantageous. Maybe that thumbstick was too advantageous. They found. And their R&D.
Word of the day goes to Brandon. Advantageous.
Well, it kind of comes full circle back to the whole argument of for or against mouse and keyboard, and people being in the same multiplayer match or whatever. Is what if that thumbstick gave you more fidelity in your turning to where you had an advantage over somebody else? And
they do with the steering wheels because you can get from lock to lock easier on a controller.
Yep.
Yes, but the downside to that, the lock to lock on the controller, is your control going from left to right isn't as fine and it's controlled as being on a wheel.
No, but then that's when people learn how to control crash and drift.
Yeah, but
if you're going lock to lock in a racing sim, you're not doing it right.
Well, if you're lock to lock on a controller, it takes you about seconds.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? It takes a few more seconds on a wheel. But doing a controller, this is where you lose the grip on the front end, and you have to completely adjust the style in which you race. I mean, Pete, who races with us, he's F1 Madman. He's rapid on a controller, but it took him a long time to get that that control over the controller. Because you had to overcome that. It's almost a disadvantage. That instant, left to right lock.
And this is where a lot of people have this debate over games like Forza, whether it's whether it's the whole sim or an arcade game or not. It's because most guys are learning how to play the game with the controller. They're not actually learning how to drive, or they're not learning
because
how
it's
to race.
Built for the
They're
controller.
Learning how to use the controller.
Yeah,
now,
it's built for the controller.
That brings me to a point that I wanted to bring up to is
what have we done?
What if a game that's designed for controller inputs, like a Battlefield or a shooter, that is designed from the ground up to have a controller be its main source of input, what if all of a sudden these mouse and keyboard players are allowed in there with their mouse and keyboard, and they don't have that advantage anymore that the gamepad users have? What do you think that does?
In other words, you're saying they're limited to what their DPI would be?
Exactly. They get in there and they all of a sudden the strafe and click setup doesn't prove to be an advantage like it does in PC gaming. What if all of a sudden they start getting beat by guys with gamepads and what's that?
I think let's go back to what we said earlier. If it's balanced, then mouse, keyboard, and controllers, gamers can be in the same game at the same time.
I don't think you can ever truly balance that, though.
Well, see, this is where it comes down to the developers of Microsoft to balance this, because it doesn't matter what you say, there is going to be a demand, right? If they release keyboard and mouse only titles, console players are going to go, I want to play that. I want console support, right? Just as gamers have asked for keyboard and mouse support, it's going to flip the other way, where you release titles that don't have controller support on a console. They're going to ask for it. So there has to be a balance on the titles that you're running. And I think we're going to see a process of, I say, 2 years, maybe 3 years, where there are going to be titles that come out that are good for the keyboard and mouse and controller, and bad. And we're going to get a good cocktail, good mixture of good and bad titles for the first couple of years. Once it all settles down, and then they find a groove, then we're going to start seeing really successful titles that can operate on both inputs and benefit both crowds for the same purpose, which is jumping on a game, having fun, and being social.
If they're social together,
yeah. Well, see, that's the thing, isn't it?
And then here's the thing, though, when you're talking about all of this balance and stuff, which I don't even know if you could truly balance the difference between the two. I don't think there can be a true balance. But
no.
What most of this controversy surrounds first-person shooters.
Mm-hmm.
What about when it comes to games like a Diablo or something, an adventure game? Is there really
no.
Is there really an argument? Does it really matter?
I don't think it matters with games like that. The argument is for the first-person shooters because of the speed in which the game is played. That is because there's so much going on in a first-person shooter. So many axes are being used. There's so many variables that it has to be balanced, and that's where I suppose the concentration, the focus needs to be. Slower pace games. I don't think you're going to see any real change, to be honest.
Yeah, like with me, I don't see the purpose of games like, just off the top of my head, something like
Division,
Batman games, the Uncharted, Tomb Raider. I don't see those. I personally see those as being more of a controller.
Yeah.
Type game. I'd have a better experience with a controller, not a gamepad, or not a keyboard, I should say.
Yeah.
To me, I think the reason I like them, I like the first-person shooters, whether it be game like Division, Battlefield, Metro, things like that, because I am better with a mouse and keyboard, only because, and this is a term that I got from Brandon, when it comes to a controller, I get dumb thumb when it comes to trying to shoot and fire my weapon. I can't
dumb
do it.
Thumb, that's ace.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? When I get rusty, I still get that too. And once upon a time, I did okay at first-person shooters on consoles, and it's something you got to train out. It's just no different for me than like if I haven't sim raced in a while, I got to be, relearn my inputs, my controls, and I'm sure you could over strafe, with a mouse. You're starting to aim and you're swinging all over the place. You got to, it's just it's a training thing,
I mean, I think they have to stick to the guns at some point, because yes, the community is going to say, well, I want controller support, or I want keyboard support, mouse support, whatever title that they release. And like I said, there are going to be titles that just you can't run this on a pad, or you can't run this on a keyboard. And they may have to stick to the and possibly lose sales in the process, but to preserve the integrity of the game and the purpose in which the game delivers and what the game's about and how it's supposed to be played, they might have to say no to one or the other. But that's down, that's where you're going to have the developers, the studios, and Microsoft in a bit of a bun fight, saying, well, we want you to sell X amount of sales, units, so we want you to put control on it. Oh no, I'm not going to do that.
Here's my prediction. I think the only real developers that are going to hop on the keyboard and mouse thing are going to be first-person shooter developers.
Yeah, they can get COD and Battlefield can guarantee.
I think the StarCraft folks too, because I mean, it's when you're playing that kind of top-down deal, it's easier. Like if you want to select a mass of your troops or whatever, just click and drag. Highlight a bunch of them, click over here, go over here, do this. I think that interaction.
And we already know Warframe and Fortnite are there.
Yeah. I mean, games like the top-down games, I don't think work well on a controller. I've tried.
No, they don't actually. Well, to a point, like I said, Diablo. Diablo's a top-down game, but it does play better on controller because you have certain movements and controls in that game that you don't have on the keyboard and mouse, which actually is better than because like when you have Diablo, you're pointing and clicking. You're using the mouse to say go here, move here. This is where the controller you're just you're moving your character, and with something you have.
I mean any game that's going to be streamed by a 15-year-old in a push bra and a short dress should be played on controller. Basically, that's
I actually set the transition up.
Anything too that has a lot of menu interaction, like those where you're doing a lot of resource management. Think of stuff like City Skylines, stuff like that, where you're a lot of menu heavy stuff like that. Yeah.
I tried that on the controller. I downloaded.
Me too.
City Skylines game, and on controller, I was like, "The hell!" I wouldn't go there.
Really,
you couldn't get it to go. You couldn't get it to go where exactly what. I thought if you build the house there, the neighbour's going to be so pissed off. Just put it where I want you to build it. And I gave up. I just uninstalled it from my Xbox. I thought, this is ridiculous.
When it comes to a game that really requires accurate point and click, then mouse and keyboard is your best bet. Yeah. But I don't know. You have people like my son. My son, he thinks if you're using mouse and keyboard, it's because you suck. And you have to use the easy method because you're not capable of playing the game good enough. So my son's all about controller, and my son's phenomenal. I mean, he's done Halo tournaments and stuff like that, and he has this amazing ability to plant plasma grenades on people from across the map, and it still astounds me as to how the fuck he does it. But my son will sit there and on a controller, he'll beat people with mouse and keyboard. And he's done it many times. And he's just that good. His hand-eye coordination is just that developed.
Well,
and
I think
he says, if you're using a mouse and keyboard, it's because you suck.
I think if you've got a controller, beating people with mouse and keyboard is a lot easier because the controller just fits in your hand. It just you can just beat. Whereas a keyboard snaps on the first good break across the back of the head. You can't really do much with the mouse, you know what I mean? Swing it around a bit, but we're not violent here.
Not long after that, the pub that was combined with the gaming center went out of business.
That's right.
But anyway, so I think we've pretty much exhausted this whole debate.
Yeah.
My takeaway from all of this is basically
We don't know.
the control. The player is the one who should have the options. And I don't care whether you're talking about PC or consoles. It's the player that should have the options. Mouse and keyboard support, to me, is a good thing. But again, to me, it all depends on the game and the type of game.
Mhm.
Really determines what the best controller is to use, whether it's controller or keyboard or mouse. So to me, they both have their place. There is no wrong answer. There is no right answer. There's just play how you want to play. And if I think gamers started acting more like gamers and appreciating each other like we used to back in the day, and stop all of this master race peasant console peasant bullshit, and start actually supporting other gamers, I think this industry could go a lot farther and things could get changed from all the bullshit that's going on. Because I tell you right now, it's a developer's market. The developers are the ones that seem to be controlling what the gamer gets instead of the gamers, like it used to be in the old days. So I don't know. That's
Man,
my
that was pretty deep, mate. I thought you were going for the full UN. You were getting right into that. I was waiting for the subtle music in the background just to creep the emotions up. Right?
That's my opinion. What's your final word, CJ?
For me, it is use what you find comfortable to use and enjoy yourself. That's the most important thing you can do with any game, simulation or what, is if you enjoy yourself and you're using a keyboard, then fine, enjoy yourself. Using a controller, enjoy yourself. That's it. As long as everyone's having fun and no one's getting pissy at each other, enjoy yourself. It's the main thing for me.
Brandon, final word.
I agree with both of you. Have fun. They're games. To CJ's point, have fun. Enjoy yourself. Make friends. I met my wife playing Halo, for those of you that don't know. Yes, CJ, you look puzzled, but yes, I met her playing Halo online.
Is your wife the Master Chief?
No, she's Cortana.
You're married. You're married. You know exactly. Your wife is always Master Chief when you're married. But I agree with what you said. I also agree with what you said, Todd. Options are a good thing for gamers. It doesn't matter. You don't have to agree. You don't have to play with mouse and keyboard if you're a gamepad guy. But options are good, you know. And as long as it's balanced and fair, just play, you know. As far as my point of view, I think it's great for us gamers. I also look at it from the perspective of Microsoft, and I think it is an absolute stroke of genius on their part. It'll sell consoles, it'll sell hardware, because obviously these peripherals, these mice and keyboard, have to be approved by Microsoft. They have a list already, you know, and it's like, okay, if you want to be part of our ecosystem, you got to come to us, and I'm sure they have to pay a fee, and it has to meet within their guidelines, but it'll sell consoles. Exactly.
I'm just upset that the first company
they've got to pay for the next Forza.
I can't believe they're bringing out Razer as their first peripheral.
Doesn't surprise me. Well, they're going to go where the money's at, right? So
well, you should have went with Logitech. Come on, at least they know how to build reliable equipment.
Well, there's no money in reliable equipment.
No, it's not.
You know, that's why Ford's the #1 selling pickup in America. But it's so yeah, it's a stroke of genius for a corporation to go, you know what, you guys want this, we're giving it to you. You know, same thing with their handicap controller, because that taps a whole nother market that nobody else is going to. So yeah, it's great for everybody. I think it's a win-win.
Yes, it is. So that wraps up our discussion on this huge controversy, which, in my opinion, is overblown. I'm sorry, it's just overblown. You need to just get over it. Play how you want to play. Enjoy yourself, like CJ said.
Yeah.
So
quit being crybabies.
Exactly. Just be gamers. Support each other. Let's get these freaking publishers and developers under control and get our gaming back to the way it used to be. Good. No more of these broken games. I mean, like we said in our last podcast, 2018 was the year of the broken games. Plain and simple.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Pretty much.
Yeah, so for CJ and Brandon, I am Todd. Thank you for joining us. If you joined us, thank you for watching us down the road. If you watch us later on, and if you like what you see, hit that like button. If you want to hear more of it, search through our catalog. We have a whole bunch of other podcasts to watch, and subscribe and hit that bell so you can be notified when we do another one. We won't be back again until February because I am going back out on the road for a while, and
he's going in the nick. He's going to jail. He's just out in bail just now. That's what it is.
Right now,
I'm his last body.
Right now, I'm on trustee leave.
Yeah, tomorrow.
So, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Brandon, for joining us in this.
Thank you, Brandon.
You're always welcome in this podcast.
Thank you.
Feel free to.
You're more welcome than Todd, actually. So, Brandon, if that's to show me, hit me up.
Good thing I'm in control, But it's been fun, guys, and
good time.
Hopefully, we'll connect on track later on. So, take it easy, everybody. Have a good one.
Take care.
Bye-bye.